I got into an accident and my wife said she wouldn't drive because gasoline was expensive, so I took everything from her. My name's Lowell. I'm 43 years old, and not too long ago, I had what you could call a hard reset on life. It all started with an accident. I work in construction, have for most of my adult life, and on a rainy Tuesday morning, a support beam gave way at a site we were prepping. I don't remember much after the noise. I just remember waking up under fluorescent lights, with my leg in traction, my chest wrapped in pressure bandages, and a tube running into my side. 3 broken ribs. 1 crushed leg. A punctured lung. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. At the time, it didn't feel like luck. I'd been married for 9 years to my wife, Thea. She was 40. When we got together, she had a son, Wyatt. He was 8 then. He's 17 now. I came into his life when he was still young enough to call me Loey before he grew into just rolling his eyes and mumbling sure when I gave him advice. I did my best. I really did. Built him a tree swing. Sat through school plays and freezing Saturday soccer games. We weren't perfect, Thea and I, but I thought we had our version of a good marriage. Predictable, steady. We had a routine. Private jokes. Taco night every Thursday. I thought that was enough. Then I ended up in a hospital bed with metal pins holding my leg together, and the only constant was the ceiling above me and the quiet hum of machines. Thea didn't come. Not the first day. Not the second. By the third, I was dialing her number from the bed, trying to convince myself she was just busy school stuff with Wyatt, her work, maybe something with the house. She picked up on the 4th try. I could hear the television in the background, some reality show she liked that I never had the patience for. Her tone was casual, almost distracted. "Oh, hey," she said. "Didn't realize you'd be calling again so soon." I asked her if she was planning to visit. Told her it was okay not to bring Wyatt, didn't want him to see me like that. She said maybe tomorrow, if traffic wasn't too bad. But tomorrow didn't come. By the 5th day, I started to feel something tighten in my chest, and it wasn't the broken ribs. I asked a nurse if anyone had called or asked about me. No one had. My sister, Lydia, came by every couple days. Brought homemade muffins and sat with me while I tried not to feel like I was slowly being forgotten by my own household. Week 2 rolled around. I called Thea again. This time she answered with a mouthful of food and said something about gas prices being ridiculous and the hospital being just too far to be worth the trip. I didn't say much. I think part of me didn't trust my voice. That night, Wyatt got on the phone. "We're doing fine," he said. His voice cracked at the end, like it hadn't fully caught up with his teenage height yet. "We don't really need you right now." It wasn't mean, exactly. But it cut. After that call, I stopped trying. Not out of anger, more out of something quieter. A kind of resignation. My mind started drifting back to the last few months before the accident. I remembered our anniversary dinner. Thea had been on her phone most of the night. I thought it was work. She'd smiled when I asked if everything was okay and said, "Of course it is." Why wouldn't it be? Now, lying in that hospital bed, her words echoed differently. 4 weeks in, I had my 3rd surgery. Still no visit. Lydia showed up the next day with a framed photo of Curtis, our dog, and a bag of actual coffee instead of the bitter hospital stuff. She sat quietly, watching me try to eat soup with one hand and asked, very gently, "Do you want me to talk to her?" I didn't say anything at first. Just nodded. Lydia had always been direct, not one to tiptoe. She came back 2 days later and said, "I checked your joint account, Lowell." I asked her what she found. Her face told me before her words did. "Thousands," she said. "Withdrawn in chunks. One deposit went to an account I don't recognize. And there's a charge from a boutique jewelry shop downtown. She doesn't wear jewelry." That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared out the tiny window in my hospital room and tried to connect the pieces. Gas money. The avoidance. The quiet voices on the phone. The boutique charge. I made the call the next morning. She actually picked up. I didn't mention the money. I just asked, "When are you planning to come see me?" She sighed like I was asking her to climb a mountain. "The hospital's 40 minutes away, Lowell. Gas is nearly $5 a gallon. And I've got everything on my plate right now. I'm running this house alone." "My sister offered to come get you," I reminded her. "We have friends who'd help. We have had money for gas." Silence. Then, quietly, she said, "You're not worth the gas money anymore." Either get better fast or stop hanging in the middle like this. I must have made some noise, because she rushed to fill the silence. I didn't mean that. I'm just tired. Stretched thin. You have no idea how hard it's been. Then Wyatt took the phone again. Mom's friend, Lane? He's been helping us a lot. He even fixed the dishwasher. Lane. Our neighbor. Moved in 6 months ago. Always offering to help Thea with little projects when I worked late. I didn't respond. Just hung up. Then I stared at the ceiling for a long time. The next day, Tessa, the nurse who always brought me the right flavor pudding cup, noticed my breakfast untouched. Rough night? She asked. I don't know what came over me, but I told her. Everything. She sat with me through the whole story, eyes kind and unflinching. When I finished, she said something that I still think about. Some people show you who they are when things go wrong. It's never easy, but it's always honest. That night, I started planning. After everything that happened, I knew I couldn't stay in that hospital room much longer. My leg was still pinned and braced. I could barely get around without a walker, but something inside me had shifted. I wasn't just healing, I was waking up. And once you wake up, you can't unsee the truth. I asked Tessa what it would take to leave early. She raised her eyebrows. Against medical advice? I nodded. You could risk infection. Setbacks. You still need care. I'll risk more by staying, I said. She didn't argue. Just helped me figure it out. We spent 2 days contacting home care services and ordering medical equipment I'd need to manage on my own. Lydia helped with the logistics, made the calls I couldn't. I had one condition: no information about my status or release to Thea. Not that she'd called. 51 days after I was admitted, I signed the discharge forms. The doctors tried to talk me out of it, but I had already mentally left. Lydia pulled up in her SUV, back seats folded down to accommodate my leg. As we drove away from the hospital, she asked the question I knew was coming. Where to? Not home, I said. Take me to the Eastridge Lodge on Vine. I booked a suite. Her eyes flicked toward me. How long? As long as it takes. The room was bigger than I expected. Quiet. Too quiet, honestly. I'd gotten used to the beeping of machines, the footsteps in the hallway. Now it was just me and my thoughts. That first night, I barely slept. The pain meds wore off too quickly, and I couldn't stop thinking about the conversation with Thea. Those words kept looping in my head like static. You're not worth the gas money anymore. The next morning, Lydia brought breakfast and strong coffee, the kind she knew I liked, bitter and dark. She also brought news. Thea had posted on the neighborhood Facebook group about how I was fighting for my life and asked people to keep our family in your prayers. The post included a smiling photo of us on vacation from 5 years ago. I hadn't heard from her since she said I wasn't worth the drive. Lydia was furious. I wasn't. I wasn't even surprised. I'd stopped expecting anything different. That afternoon, I opened a fresh note on my phone and made a list. Open new bank account. Contact a lawyer. Set up mail forwarding. Check household accounts. Transfer my paycheck. Document everything. And bring Curtis home. It wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. We found a lawyer who made house or hotel calls. His name was Marvin Reddick, but he introduced himself as just Reddick. He showed up in jeans and a polo, laptop tucked under one arm, and greeted me like an old friend. I don't do drama, he said. I do exits. That was exactly what I needed. We sat down for 3 hours while I explained everything. The house, which we'd refinanced together 2 years into the marriage. The joint accounts. The car's mine, a work truck, and hers, a newer SUV. I showed him the financial statements Lydia had helped pull up. The ATM withdrawals. The unfamiliar transfers. The jewelry store. Reddick took notes, occasionally stopping to ask questions or shake his head. She's still in the house, he asked. Yes. Any indication she knows you're not in the hospital anymore? No. He looked up and nodded, like he'd just made a decision. Good. Let's keep it that way, for now. He explained that in our state, I was entitled to half of all marital assets. But things would get messy if Thea started hiding or moving funds. He advised caution. Clarity. Documentation. Get what's yours, but don't take what's not. Be precise, not emotional. I started checking our accounts daily. Set up a new bank in my name only and redirected my next paycheck. Closed the credit cards we held jointly. Every move felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Finding a new place wasn't easy. I couldn't drive yet, so I scheduled virtual tours. After a few false starts, I found an apartment on the ground floor of a modest complex, nothing fancy, but clean and well managed, with an elevator and a pet-friendly policy. I signed the lease electronically and arranged for the key pickup with Lydia. Then came the final piece. Curtis. Our dog, well, mine now. He'd been part of the family since the early years, a scrappy retriever with more energy than sense. Lydia agreed to swing by the house when Thea would be away and pick him up. She texted me that evening. He ran straight to the car when I opened the door. I think he knew. That weekend, while Thea was on a girls' trip in Savannah, Lydia confirmed via a neighbor we made our move. I hired a moving company and paid extra for packing. I provided a full inventory, what was mine before the marriage, what we bought together, and what I was entitled to. Reddick reviewed it and gave the go-ahead. Saturday morning, Lydia picked me up. I had upgraded from the walker to crutches, still slow but capable. We pulled up to the house as the moving truck arrived. It felt strange being there. Like I was stepping into someone else's life. Everything was tidy. Too tidy. Thea had cleaned before leaving. Or maybe Lane had. Curtis barked as soon as we walked in, wagging his tail like he'd just solved a mystery. I gave him a scratch behind the ears and whispered, "We're going home, buddy." The movers got to work. Bedroom furniture that was mine. Office desk. Tool bench. Kitchen gear. My books. I left her things untouched. Same with Wyatt's room, except for the game console I'd bought him last Christmas. Around 4 p.m., Lydia ordered pizza, and we ate on the floor, surrounded by boxes. The movers didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer answers. When it was done, I did one last walkthrough. In her bedroom, I saw the framed wedding photo on the nightstand. I left it. Let her deal with that memory. Back at the apartment, everything felt new and unfinished. Curtis wandered around, sniffing corners. I lay on the couch, listening to the silence. It was different from the hospital silence. This one didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like freedom. Later that night, I checked Thea's social media. She'd posted a group photo, arms around two friends, a drink in her hand, the caption. #reset #weekend warriors. Her house was half empty. She didn't know yet. But she would. Sunday evening, just before sunset, my phone buzzed. It was Lydia. They're home. I knew what was coming next. I braced myself. At 6:42 p.m., my phone exploded. First came the messages. One after another. Thea? Where is everything? Are you kidding me? What did you do? Then came the calls. I didn't answer any of them. After the sixth attempt, I powered my phone off and sat in the dim light of the apartment, listening to Curtis chew on his toy, oblivious in content. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel trapped. Just removed. An hour later, my burner phone buzzed a number only Lydia and my lawyer had. It was a message from Lydia. You need to see this. Attached was a video clip from her doorbell camera. Lydia lives a few houses down from the old place and across the street. The clip showed Thea standing in the front yard, shouting at the house. Not anyone in particular, just the house itself. Hands flailing, face red. She looked like someone trying to unboil water. Her voice cracked on the audio. He took everything. Even the dog. Who does this? Curtis heard her voice through the video and paused mid-chew. Tilted his head. Then went right back to his bone. Smart dog. I turned my regular phone back on before bed, 17 missed calls, 30-something messages, and 4 voicemails. I listened to one, just out of curiosity. Her voice trembled, less anger, more disbelief. This isn't legal, Lowell. You can't just vanish with our things. I'm calling a lawyer. The police. You can't do this. I forwarded it to Reddick. He responded within 10 minutes. Let her call. Everything we did was legal and documented. Sit tight. The next morning, I got an email from Thea. Subject line. We need to talk. The body said. I know you're upset. But this is extreme. Please call me. We can fix this. There was no apology. No acknowledgement. Just another attempt to steer the wheel back to her hands. I didn't reply. Instead, Reddick sent her a formal breakdown, a line-by-line account of what I had taken and why, backed by dated receipts and our marital asset agreements. Along with it, he attached divorce papers. A clean, legal, emotionless delivery. That same afternoon, I was unpacking boxes in the kitchen when I found a card tucked inside an old file folder. It was the anniversary card Thea had given me 2 months before my accident. To many more years of building our life together. Always. I stared at it for a long while. Then took a photo and sent it to her with one line. Was Lane already helping when you wrote this? She read it within seconds. The typing dots flickered in and out, over and over. Then finally, a message. It's complicated. That's when I knew I didn't need any more explanations. Some things aren't complicated. Some things are just choices, plain and simple. That week, I focused on rebuilding the foundation of my new life. Thea called a few more times from unfamiliar numbers. I ignored them. Reddick told me to document everything. She hadn't officially responded to the divorce filing yet, but I knew she would. 2 weeks post-move, I got a ping from the doorbell camera Lydia helped install at my apartment. It showed Thea sitting in her car in the guest parking lot. Just sitting there. For 3 hours. Watching. I wasn't home at the time, was at physical therapy, but seeing that made my stomach knot up. My new apartment, my sanctuary, suddenly felt exposed. When I returned later that day, her car was gone. But there was a package at my door. No postage, just my name written in her handwriting. Inside, Curtis's old dog bed, some photos of Wyatt and me on camping trips, and a handwritten letter. I didn't read the letter. Just put it in a drawer. Maybe one day, but not now. That night, she called again, another number. For whatever reason, I answered. Her voice was softer than I'd heard in a long time. No fire. No edge. She asked how I was healing. Asked about Curtis. Then she went quiet. For a while. Finally, she said. I owe you the truth. No more lies. What followed was a conversation I'll never forget. She told me the relationship with Lane had started before my accident, almost a year before. She'd been planning to ask for a divorce, but couldn't find the right time. Then I got hurt. She said it changed everything. That she didn't want to visit me because it made her feel trapped. That she thought if I didn't make it, it would simplify things. Insurance, the house, the future. I don't know how long I sat there after that. At one point, she added, almost like an afterthought. Lane left. After you moved out. Said I was too much. He's gone now. She was alone in the house. Wyatt barely spoke to her. The rooms were empty, and she finally felt it. I should have felt triumphant. I didn't. I just felt hollow. I told her, calmly, that there was nothing left for us to discuss outside of paperwork. She cried. Not loudly. Just that quiet kind that sounds more like breathing. I hung up. A week later, Wyatt texted me. He asked if he could stay with me for a while weekends, maybe longer. Said things at home were hard. Tense. That Thea was different now, short-tempered, drinking more, always tired. Reddick said as long as Thea consented, it was doable. Surprisingly, she agreed. I cleared out the spare bedroom and set it up for him, just a bed, a desk, and a place that felt like his. The first weekend, we didn't say much. Played video games. Ate too much takeout. Took Curtis on a long walk around the block. By the third weekend, we had a rhythm. Friday night pizza. Saturday cartoons and pancakes. Sunday evening cleanup. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't perfect. But it felt like healing. 3 months after I left the hospital, things finally started to feel real. Settled, even. My leg was still stiff, but I no longer needed the crutches. Physical therapy was steady. I walked with a limp, sure, but I walked. Curtis had taken up a permanent post by the sliding glass door in the apartment, his head resting on the frame like he was standing guard. Wyatt came by every weekend like clockwork. We cooked simple meals. Watched old action movies. Laughed at things we hadn't shared in years. It wasn't exactly normal, but it was a new version of it and it was ours. The day of the divorce hearing came fast. I dreaded it, not because I was unsure, but because I didn't want to see Thea again. I didn't want her to have the chance to perform, because that's what she did when things weren't in her control. She turned it into theater. She arrived early, dressed sharply. Makeup perfect. Not a hair out of place. When our eyes met, she smiled. The kind of tight, closed-mouth smile you give a stranger in a waiting room. The hearing was short. The judge reviewed the documentation, asked if we both agreed to the terms, and with the tap of a pen, 9 years of marriage were over. No drama. No arguments. Just legal finality. As I stood to leave, Thea stopped me in the hallway. I brought this, she said, holding out a plain white envelope. Inside was a copy of the wedding photo I'd left behind, the one from our nightstand. I thought you might want it, she said. For memories. I thanked her. Folded it. Put it in my coat pocket. I didn't look back when I walked out. That night, I tossed the envelope in the trash, photos still inside. Life kept moving forward, in quiet ways. Wyatt texted later that week to confirm our weekend plans. There was something new in his message, uncertainty, maybe. Like he wasn't sure if everything would stay the same now that the divorce was finalized. I texted back. Yes. Pizza and a movie. Your pick this time. He responded with a thumbs up and a gif of Curtis doing a zoomie in the apartment. I laughed for real, no tension, no faking. Weeks passed. Thea sold the house. Lydia sent me a photo of the sold sign out front. It felt like it should have meant more. Instead, it felt like crossing a small bridge, one of many in the long walk away from a life I thought I wanted. I kept going to physical therapy. At my final session, the therapist said I'd recovered faster than most people with similar injuries. When I joked that spite was my primary motivator, she just smiled and said, some call it stubbornness. Others call it resilience. Maybe it was both. One evening, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw a familiar name pop up: Tessa, the nurse from the hospital. We'd exchanged numbers, but never really kept in touch. Her profile was full of nature hikes, quirky recipes, and pictures of her dog. Without thinking too hard about it, I sent a quick message. Hey, just wanted to say thanks again. I'm doing a lot better now. She responded almost immediately. We met for coffee the following week. It wasn't a date. Just two people who'd shared a moment of kindness in a sterile hospital room, now talking like old friends. We talked about everything and nothing, the kind of conversations that don't have to go anywhere but still leave you better than you were before. She mentioned a support group for people recovering from major life changes, divorce, injury, grief, all of it. I shrugged it off at first. But a week later, I showed up. I didn't say anything during that first session. Just sat there and listened. But it helped, just hearing other people talk about their pain like it was something they carried in their pocket, not on their shoulders. Thea still texts occasionally about Wyatt, or mail, or a question about taxes. Our conversations are civil. Brief. No more bargaining. No more guilt. Whatever we had, it's long gone. But now it's no longer a fire. Just distant smoke on the horizon. Lane moved away not long after I did. Word around the neighborhood was that he packed up quietly, didn't leave a forwarding address. I don't think he wanted to be a character in anyone's story anymore. As for me? I've got my own space now. Wyatt has a room that's actually his. Curtis has worn down a perfect oval into the rug near the patio. And Tessa? We've had coffee a few more times. Dinner, once or twice. Nothing fast. Nothing declared. Just gentle steps in the same direction. Last weekend, she and Wyatt made homemade waffles together. The kitchen looked like it had been hit by a flour hurricane, but it was the kind of mess I didn't mind cleaning up. Someone asked me recently if I regret how I handled things. If packing up the house and leaving like I did was the right move. I don't regret it. Not because it was dramatic, or clever, or satisfying, but because it gave me back my sense of self. I didn't just walk out of a house. I walked out of a version of myself I'd let shrink for too long. Some people are a chapter. Some are a whole book. But others? Others are the cover you finally put down when you're ready to start something new. And I'm finally ready. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.